Disney's emerging NFL partnership and new global role for Hulu are big strategic shifts in its direct-to-consumer business. Will they bring the growth and engagement Disney needs? Listen on.
Welcome to this week's edition of Inside the Stream. This is Will Richmond from Video News, and Colin Dixon from N-Screen Media is with me. Colin, how are you?
I'm doing well, Will. I'm just wondering if you are booking your seat on the Disney Adventure cruise liner, which is scheduled to launch next year. 7,000 passengers, Will. Are you going to be one of them?
There is very little chance that I will be one of them. How about you?
I would say there is a negative chance. You would have to put me in chains and force me onto the boat to get me to go on that Disney Adventure cruise liner.
Well, for the right target audience, it's probably going to be fantastic, right?
Well, apparently it's booked out for the first 6 months of availability.
Yeah.
I think that one's going to be sailing out of Singapore, and it's targeting the Asian audiences. But I get it. I bet a bunch of people will fly over there and take it anyway. But we are talking SVOD today, a lot about SVOD anyway, and what's going on there. And I don't know, Evan Shapiro was going on about the streaming wars are over and that Netflix has won it. I don't know, Will. Looking at all the announcements this week, I don't think anybody else has admitted defeat.
Well, no, I agree. It seems like there are ever more SVOD services coming to market this week. Well, let's go ahead and get started. You are going to cover Fox One, then I'm going to cover Roku Howdy, then we're going to talk about Disney.
Yeah, so Fox CEO Lachlan Murdoch promised that they were going to release an all-singing, all-dancing Fox streaming app. And they've fleshed that out completely now. We now know it's going to launch on August 21st. And you should remember that date because it's going to come up again in the podcast. It's going to launch August 21st for $19.99 a month. And basically, Fox is throwing everything and the kitchen sink into this app. It's going to have basically all its broadcast channels, including Fox News Channel, Fox Business, Fox Weather, Fox Sports, FS1, FS2, Fox Deportes. Oh, and I could keep going. There's even more in there. You're also going to be able to bundle it with your Fox Nation subscription for $24.99 if you have one. And according to Lachlan Murdoch, who's the CEO, he says it's targeting cord cutters and cord nevers. And to reinforce that, he's giving existing pay TV subscribers access to the app for no charge. Now, interestingly, he said, Will, that he doesn't expect too much from the service. In fact, what he said was, we've said before that our aspirations for Fox One subscribers are modest and our measured investment initiatives will match the long-range goals. So, I think he's probably wise to say at $20 a month that his aspirations are fairly modest. But there was some hint, I think at least there was some hint in the earnings call that they think it might be a worthy competitor to the new ESPN app, which we'll get to in a moment, because of the inclusion of all of Fox's sports assets into this app. I don't agree with him, certainly based on some of the announcements that Disney has made, that it's very competitive. But there it is. You can get everything Fox in the Fox One app starting on August 21st if you have $19.99 a month burning a hole in your pocket.
Right. So I guess way to interpret this is that Fox is making sure that all of its content is available for cord cutters now. They want to make sure that nothing is held back, nothing is off the table. and
Yep.
and the price of entry, as you say, is $20 a month. So my hunch is there's a market for something like that. I don't know how big it is, but certainly plenty of people in the U.S. that are Fox superfans, one part of it or another. And so there will be an audience, but I agree with you. I don't think this is a toe-to-toe competition with ESPN, because the ESPN rights portfolio is just so much more significant than Fox's.
You bet. So anyway, there was another SVOD launch this week as well, right?
Right, from Roku, not exactly the folks that you would be expecting an SVOD launch from, but there you go. They have now come to market with a new $2.99 a month service called Howdy. It is ad-free, subscription video on demand. Includes content from Lionsgate, Warner Brothers Discovery, FilmRise, and select Roku originals. So it, I think, is meant to complement the free content that's available on the Roku channel for people that want to, again, really have an ad-free experience with some of this content. You and I played around a little bit with the UI and left us with a few questions about the execution. Maybe they just haven't sort of fully dotted the I's or crossed the T's on the UI yet, which is actually a little surprising for Roku, because they've always felt, at least to me, very buttoned up in all of their execution over the years. But in the UI, we see certain content that has a $sign in the lower left corner, and that then launches you into the subscription homepage in the flow to get you to sign up. There's also some content that doesn't have a $sign that I experienced as taking me into the subscription page. You experienced as not taking you into the subscription page. So kind of an inconsistent experience there. All of that actually also follows that when you're on howdy.tv, which is just the main starting page for the Howdy service, when you want to be able to see what's there, you have to first sign into your Roku account, which seemed like an unnecessary impediment to people subscribing to this. But it may be that more people are going to be potentially subscribing to Howdy through their Roku TV, not on the website. So idea being that Roku, of course, has a huge promotional engine by having 90 plus million accounts, people watching through their Roku TVs. So no doubt all of us with Rokus are going to start seeing some aggressive promotion for Howdy on the home screen and elsewhere within, elsewhere within the Roku interface, and certainly within the Roku channel. But so the website may just not be a huge priority for them at this point. Small things to be ironed out. But I guess the question here is, do we think this is going to get any real penetration? And back to your original question, some people in the industry have thought it's sort of game over for SVOD. Netflix won it, everybody else is an also ran. I would say that, as I said with Fox One, that there's a market for a $2.99 a month service. I don't know how deep it is, though, because people, in my view, and I think maybe you have a slightly different take on this, but in my view, people, I think, would be inclined, they'd see an offer like this for $3 a month, and one of the first questions they might be asking themselves is it worth subscribing to yet another service for $3 a month when I already know I have 5, 10, 15 shows in my queue, in my Netflix queue? And then, of course, Amazon, that catalog is by far the deepest of any of the streaming services, and they may also have a queue there. So if you're a viewer coming into this and you're being asked for another $3 a month, and you already feel like you're already behind on the content that you want to watch, it feels like it's going to be challenging to get people to sign up for another $3 a month service. Caveat may be that certain movies or certain TV shows are put front and center in the promotional offer. Maybe that grabs people. Maybe they sign up for a month or two, binge what they want to binge. I don't know how deep this offer, this appeal is on an ongoing basis, though. What do you think?
Yeah, I have the similar questions, Will, but I think the way they're going to market this is on a title by title basis. So sure, they're going to come in and tell you about Howdy, but this is going to be more subtle. So you do a search and they've got it in Howdy and they're going to ask you, hey, why don't you sign up? You can watch this ad free for $2.99, cancel anytime. And I think there's, if you really want to watch this and you want to focus on it and you don't want to see ads, that's a fairly easy sale, right? $2.99, sure, I'll sign up for that for a month and then I can watch other stuff if I want and cancel anytime. So I think that's the way the sales pitch is really going to go. And I got to say, I think it's going to be really, it's going to be relatively successful, Will. And the reason I say that is, the Roku has just become a master at marketing through the Roku interface, and let's to be honest, they have like 90 million users now, 90 million active Roku users. A lot of those are in the US, and Anthony Wood, for example, was talking about the fact that 80% of views inside the Roku channel come from the interface, not from the app. People don't load the app. They find something by doing a search, or they see something in the interface and they click into it and in they go and they start watching it with ads. Now, of course, you put a barrier in there where you have to sign up and pay $2.99. But again, if you're looking for that piece of content and you're ad averse, $2.99 is not a really high bar. So I have a feeling they're going to do pretty well with this. And in fact, of the three services that we're going to talk about today, we already talked about Fox One. Of the three services that are launching this month, I think it's probably going to get the most subscribers.
More subscribers than ESPN that we're going to talk about in a moment.
Yeah, and the reason is simple. It's cheap.
I'm going to bet you $1 on that one, Colin, if you're up for it. Your side of this bet is that Howdy TV is going to get more subscribers than ESPN. My side of this bet is ESPN gets more subscribers than Howdy.
All right.
You up for $1 on that one?
I'll bet you more than $1. But the only thing
$2.
is, Will, the only thing is, we ain't ever going to know. Because ESPN announced that they weren't going to give us subscriber numbers anymore. And Roku already doesn't give subscriber numbers or user numbers to its services. So we'll never know.
Well, a caveat to that, we will never know from the companies themselves. But fortunately, we have our friend Jonathan Carson at Antenna, which is producing pie charts every month on how many, not how many subscribers, but the relative share of each streaming service. So we'll see. So
we'll use Jonathan as the arbiter.
Jonathan
see what can sliver. Be the arbiter.
My bet is ESPN is going to have a sliver to start with, and Howdy will have I don't know what, they'll be in the other category, as you put it.
Well, maybe, yeah.
Anyway, let's move on to the main story. Tons and tons of news out of Disney this week. Some of it just following through on what had been previously announced, but also some new news as well. And you've got that.
I do. And yes, boy, did they have a lot to say on the earnings call this week. In fact, that was yesterday, where we're recording here on Thursday morning. I suppose maybe the easiest place to start is with the Hulu Disney Plus announcements. The first thing they said there was that they were going to be combining Hulu and Disney Plus into a single app. I'll be honest, I'm a little confused about this announcement because they are already combined. There's a Hulu title inside of Disney Plus, and all of your viewing inside of Hulu also percolates into the Disney Plus experience. So they're already fairly integrated. Apparently that integration is going to get much deeper. And they said that they will still be available separately, although it's not clear now if what's going to happen here is if you subscribe to Hulu, you still use the Disney Plus app to watch Hulu. You won't be able to watch the Disney Plus content. I don't know. It's just not clear. But anyway, that's the first thing they're going to do there with Hulu. And the second thing they're going to do is internationally is they're retiring the Star brand and they're replacing that with Hulu. So now international viewers will have a tile inside of their Disney Plus that says Hulu instead of Star. Again, this is a little bit of a surprise. I don't really understand why they're doing this. They have Star, which is an established brand, which people will already know. And I don't really see what there is to gain by adding Hulu to it. I mean, if it's got the same content, who cares, right? There's no reason for you to have an integrated name across everywhere on the globe. I would run with what you have. But anyway, that's what they say they're going to do. And I guess I should know that it wasn't a spectacular quarter for them in terms of growth. They added 1.8 million Disney Plus subscribers, and they didn't add any in North America. It was basically flat. And Hulu added 900,000 subscribers, although I will note that Hulu Live actually lost, I think, 200,000 subscribers. So it wasn't spectacular. So anyway, those are the moves there with Disney Plus and Hulu before we get on to ESPN. So I'll pause there for a second and get your comments on those moves.
Yeah, I as you said, I am not totally sure I understand the Hulu integration and the rebranding of Star to Hulu. I'm not a Disney Plus user, so I don't know how integrated Hulu and Disney Plus already are. I thought the extent of the integration was just that Hulu had a tile on the Disney Plus main UI. And also, of course, there's been heavy promotion by Disney to bundle Hulu with Disney Plus and other services. So I don't know from a user, I haven't been a user, so I don't know exactly what the integration looks like currently or what it's going to look like. The big question I had with it is the deeper the integration, the more the question why there should even be a Hulu standalone brand. If it's going to be deeply integrated, then why create customer confusion? Just say goodbye to the Hulu brand and just have it all live under Disney Plus. I could see Disney hesitating on that because they want to keep anything that's Disney branded, they want to keep at least somewhat family oriented and not mix Hulu's more R-rated type of content in under the Disney Plus brand. But the reality is Hulu's already under the Disney brand, so it's only really the next half step to put it underneath the Disney Plus brand. But we may be splitting hairs here. I don't really know.
Yeah, I think that Disney cruise ship has sailed, Will.
Okay.
There's already, Disney Plus is already, there's very adult content inside of Disney Plus these days. Deadpool, for goodness sake, if that's not adult, I don't know what is. So there's plenty of adult content. I do agree with you. I really don't see the function of the Hulu brand anymore, either in the marketplace or inside of Disney Plus itself. I'm going to be interested to see how they do this deeper integration. As I say, the integration is already fairly deep. When you do searches inside of Disney Plus, Hulu content pops up if you're a subscriber. You get your watch list from Hulu inside of Disney Plus. So there really isn't a lot of difference between the two. And I think you're completely correct that I don't really see the function of Hulu except as being a separate tile of service that you have to subscribe separately and pay extra for. But I guess they can do that any way they want. But anyway, that's the Hulu Disney news. The other really big news is all about the ESPN app and how the NFL and Disney now are really palling up here to make the ESPN app an essential service for anybody that's a football fan. The first part of the what's going on between NFL and Disney is that Disney is acquiring the NFL Network and Red Zone from NFL. I don't think they've ever really fulfilled what NFL was hoping from those channels. I don't think they've really fulfilled their potential. And this will, I think, give them a new life under Disney. Disney knows how to run channels, and they'll do much better with these than I think NFL has ever done. And along with this, Disney gets Red Zone, which I think is very valuable, being able to, keep up with all of the games going on a Sunday. And it's also a crown jewel, I think, of the NFL's other property that it licenses to YouTube, Sunday Ticket. So I think that's a big addition. They get 7 extra games. And of course, Disney ESPN already owns the rights to Monday Night Football. So this looks to me like a slam dunk now. If you're a hardcore NFL fan, you are going to need to have ESPN. So that's one part of that deal. The other part of the deal is that for those properties, Disney is going to give NFL a 10% share in ESPN. Now, this deal isn't done, and I think the terms aren't finally agreed, but that's in general, in principle, what they're talking about, that the NFL is going to get a 10% share in the ESPN standalone app for these properties. And I suppose it's good for ESPN in another way, because they don't have to have production staff anymore. They can let Disney handle all of that, and Disney is obviously very capable of doing that. I'll pause again there.
Yeah, I was just going to say there's another important part of that 10%, which is that NFL is reportedly putting $2 to $3 billion into ESPN. So the final number apparently has not been reported. And as you mentioned, I've read that the deal is actually not a binding deal at this point. So it sounds like they've maybe not yet fully reached the terms on how that deal would work. I've also read that deal, that investment, has been literally in the works for like 10 years. They've been talking about this.
Yeah.
Incredible as it sounds. And even now, when they actually announced the quote deal, it's not a final binding deal. So they're still not technically across the finish line. But it certainly, to your point, it certainly sounds like the NFL and Disney/ESPN are looking to build a far deeper relationship, and that Disney/ESPN recognizes that the NFL is, by far the most important franchise within the ESPN rights portfolio, and they're now deepening that commitment even further. And also, to your point, making it so comprehensive that any NFL football fan above a relatively modest bar is going to feel the need to have ESPN with Red Zone, NFL Network, et cetera, all the other accoutrements that come with it. So, yeah, Disney, NFL joined at the hip.
Yeah. And there were a couple of other wrinkles here which we should probably pay attention to. First is that if you want all things Disney, if you want Disney Plus and Hulu, then getting this in the bundle in the first year is absolutely a slam dunk, because basically for the price of ESPN, you're going to be able to buy into that bundle. I think it was $35 with ads for the Disney Plus, Hulu, and ESPN bundle, and $45 without ads. And a special rate, which is good for 1 year, where you can buy in to all three for the price of ESPN. But anyway, if you are a Disney fan as well as an ESPN fan and an NFL fan, then the bundle is definitely going to be the way to go. You're going to save a bundle by signing up for that bundle. So that's the first thing. The second thing about this is there's a little sting in the tail that Disney provided for Peacock, because they've bought the rights to WWE and all of the live events that WWE provide, which were formerly owned by Peacock. So before this year you were going to Peacock for those. Well, going forward you're going to be going to ESPN. So this is a big deal, actually. What's not clear is if you are going to still have to do the pay-per-view. And the reason I say that is because you can watch WWE right now by getting a Peacock subscription. And the Peacock subscription, there are two levels. There's $9.99 and $16.99. Well, now you're going to have to pay $30 a month to get your WWE inside of ESPN. So it's not clear what's going to happen to those pay-per-view events, if those pay-per-view events aren't going to be anymore and that you'll just be able to watch them all for free, or Disney's going to have its hand out for more money for those live events, for those SmackDown events, or not. It's not clear. But anyway, either way, it's a bit of a blow, I think, for Peacock. Peacock has been the home for a while, and people are going to have to move from there to this new ESPN app to continue to watch. And I don't know how that's going to play out well. I mean, basically, you're asking people to pay $20 more for access to the same content. So that's going to be interesting to see how that works out for WWE fans.
So, Colin, given all that we've been talking about with for ESPN, with all the NFL stuff, the WWE stuff, and I know how important $1 is to you, I'm just going to ask you again, do you really want to stand by that position that Howdy TV is going to have more subscribers than ESPN? I'm just giving you a second chance in case you want to back out of that bet.
So I'm going to stand by it.
Okay.
And the reason here is pretty simple, Will. This is an expensive app. And you better be a sports fan if you want this app. And so around about, I think 45%, I was looking at some numbers, 45% of people say they're, quote, sports fans, and 55% say they're sports avoidant. And this is, I think it was broadband subscribers. So it's a proportion of those who are big sports fans, who are fans of multiple sports, or avid fans of one sport that is heavily covered by ESPN, are the ones that are going to be subscribing to this. Those people already are subscribers to pay TV. They have to be if they want to get all of that stuff. So they already have pay TV subscriptions. So, and by the way, pay TV subscribers, at least at Charter and DirecTV, I'm not sure about the rest, but Charter and DirecTV subscribers will get access to the ESPN app. So it's not clear to me today who is really going to need to subscribe to this like right away. And because if you're a hardcore sports fan, you already have a pay television subscription so that you can watch everything that you want to watch. So that's the big question there for me, and that's why I'm a little more hesitant to say that tens of millions of people are going to flock to the ESPN app. They aren't. I think very quickly you might get 1 or 2 million, but I think it's going to take a lot longer for it to build to 10 to 20 million, if it ever does, at that price.
Okay, listeners, we have Colin on record as saying that a service that has such hits as The Rifleman, Dinosaur Island, and John Travolta's I Am Wrath has a greater appeal than the combination of NFL and worldwide wrestling. We have our listeners verifying this, Colin. I am looking forward to that Venmo with $1 heading my way, be that as it may.
All right. Well, I'll be happy to give it to you if it turns out that I'm wrong.
Well, if it happens. Okay, fair enough. There's a 50-50. There's always a 50-50 chance on everything, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I think we're actually at the end here. We've covered this ESPN NFL. I think is really fascinating. Really does, I think, fundamentally rewrite the sports broadcast TV, cable TV, streaming TV, sports relationships here. So a lot of stuff to happen downstream.
It really does. And these three announcements, when you take them together, it's like, okay, you can proclaim the streaming wars are over. Nobody's listening. They are still fighting. Disney was talking so much about engagement. It's clear that they have an engagement problem with Disney Plus. Well, if you've got Hulu and ESPN, you are going to be using that app a lot because it's all wrapped up in that app. So that'll become a daily app for those people that subscribe to it. But anyway, as you say, I think we're pretty much done today.
Okay, good chatting, and thanks everyone for listening, and we'll see you all again next week.
Inside the Stream is a production of In-Screen Media and Video News, all rights reserved.